friends were there, the neighbors were there, the neighbors' neighbors were there. There was great food, the alcohol was flowing, but as the alcohol was flowing, so were Yair's emotions. He broke down crying several times, and then he just disappeared. When he did show up, it wasn't in the way that I thought he would. I had to go to the bathroom, and the door was shut. I know, and the door was shut. I knocked, there was no answer, so I opened the door. It opened about an inch, and then it slammed shut. I, of course, apologized, and then I heard Yair's voice saying, "Oh, Debbie, there's nothing going on in here. We'll be out in a minute." I'm thinking, wait, what? I thought I had misunderstood what he said until he came out pulling up his pants, followed by a woman tucking in her shirt. The whole time he was crying and apologizing and saying nothing was going on, and the woman was crying, "My babies, I'm married, I would never do that to my babies." Oh no. No, I was not born yesterday. Now, I don't really know what went on in that bathroom, but frankly at that moment I was stunned and I really didn't know what to say. So I literally turned around and walked away. It was then that Yair went a little bit crazy and took off all his clothes and went running down the street butt naked. Not exactly my plan for my last night in Israel for a while.
Trying to find my way to Sunday school in the new church, and I would end up hiding in a mop closet or a bathroom instead and color on the children's bulletin. So I've had this Bible and I have no real use for it, but I also just can't get rid of it. It was given to me by an ex-boyfriend as we were breaking up. He was breaking up with me, and he gave me this Bible complete with post-it notes just inside the front cover directing me to passages that he felt that I particularly needed. I did not want this Bible, so why did I accept it from him? When we broke up, I had a massive concussion. I was in physical therapy, learning how to refocus my eyes and walk in a straight line without falling over. I was waking up in the middle of the night and beating the shit out of him with a pillow while screaming, thinking that he was just a very sleepy robber. So when he gave me that Bible, I probably thought that it was just a very small casserole. I don't remember because concussions are crazy. So I haven't held on to this Bible because I'm grasping to the hope that we will one day get back together. He is a shitty dude. I still have this damn thing because I'm worried that if I give away someone's childhood Bible, even if they are a terrible person, to the garbage can or a charity, I am setting in motion some kind of very serious bad luck, juju, karma, whatever, that's going to come around and slam me upside the head right when it is most inconvenient. And I'm not religious, but I am superstitious as hell. So part of the reason that I think I got stuck with this Bible, cosmically speaking, is because of the cookie. When we first started dating, I was a junior in college and Jeremy was 3 years out of law school. You can do that math because I don't really want to spell out the age difference for you, but the point is I was a tiny bit of a scandal around his law firm. Either people fucking loved me because I was cute and funny, or they pitied me because he was clearly taking advantage of this poor young thing who didn't know any better. Now, neither of these is completely true, but the point is there weren't any middling opinions of me making the rounds in the Cook County legal system. No one had a stronger opinion of our relationship than Jeremy's paralegal, Jennifer. That's obviously not her real name, but it might as well be. She was sort of sharp and generic and unpleasant in a way you couldn't quite put your finger on. She had been his paralegal ever since he joined the firm right out of law school and had been putting in serious work trying to push things in a less than professional direction ever since Jeremy's divorce. Jeremy even expressed to me at one point that he thought she had gotten a boob job to try and get his attention. Unfortunately for Jennifer, Jeremy is an ass man. Now, I am not, generally speaking, a jealous person, but damn if this girl was not trying to undermine me at every single turn. And I finally hit my limit on Jeremy's number redacted birthday party. His boss had rented one of those trolleys.
And they gave us a badge, you know, that we had. So all the workers had a badge. And I was the only, I mean, when I go to these Catholic functions, I'm always the only black person there. They gave me a badge, just like everyone else. And what we did was we helped persons who were in the neighborhood with a cart. And we would get them, we'd go to these stations, if you will, that were lined up in the area by the church. And we would give them, you know, I would have the cart, push the cart for the older woman or man, and then we'd go to the station and we'd see what they want to eat. So I would go to the stations with my badge, big red badge right here, and instead of, they would ask me, the white, what do you want, sir, to eat? I'm like, I have a badge on just like you, damn it. Like, can't you see? Someone said they don't even see the badge, they see my color first, not the badge. You know that's right here. I'm an immigrant. And it saddens me, this journey, but nonetheless, I'm going to continue on. I went to a retreat on two retreats, one on relationships, you know, only black person there. And the priest said, he said, you know, maybe you'll find your marriage mate here. And I said, amen to that, you know. And he drew attention to me like, hey, there's an eligible guy right there. But none of the white women came up to me. They were like, they all passed me by. Even though I'm a stockbroker, I own 2 businesses, while you're an intern in some fucking way. Like, man.
They can be good, bad, or meh. In the 1990s, with the introduction of the internet, the boundaries of communication evaporated almost overnight. A new frontier opened before our very eyes and quickly reached the fingertips. Sorry, I'm going to switch. A new frontier opened before our very eyes and quickly found its way to the fingertips of most Americans. Whether in our homes, workspaces, schools, or libraries, access to this new frontier reached millions. Vast numbers of people suddenly found themselves embarking on a guideless, naive adventure. Much like the exploration and expansion of our land, some of us would go on to conquer and thrive. Others would fall victim to the perilous terrain. But most of us would simply adapt and cultivate a new kind of living. In 1998, my gateway into this wider world appeared in the rather ironic fashion in the form of a clunky gray set of cubes that was the Cox family's Gateway 2000 desktop computer. Windows software equipped with Encarta Encyclopedia and Cinemania opened my eyes to the worlds of information and multimedia, the likes of which I had never known. Though I was never a bookish child, I was, and continued to be, incessantly curious. Until the arrival of a free copy of America Online software, my curiosity and intellectual pursuits on the computer were limited to things like space and animals and history, or learning how to whistle the song from the bridge over the River Kwai. One day, in ubiquitous fashion, the 3.5-inch America Online floppy disk made its way to the mailboxes of Americans across the country. My curiosity was now free to wander in a borderless world of information and communication, albeit at very slow speeds. America Online offered the web's most primitive versions of social media and social networking in the forms of online profiles, messaging services, and chat rooms. Suddenly, anyone and everyone, from hobbyists to the carriers of secrets, found themselves able to assemble with an ease that bordered on the absurd. Whether you were a gardening enthusiast or someone with a hidden sexual identity, there was now a boundless space to interact with kindred spirits. People quickly realized they could be themselves online. Or worse, they could be whoever they wanted. As a 17-year-old with a boiling libido and a secret, being online provided a world where I was free to do both. A freedom with perils equal to its appeal. Coming to terms with being gay, or any other kind of different, is never easy. There's something particularly hard about uttering those words for the first time. I'm gay. It's truly a rare and profound experience for a person to speak something from which there is no turning back. By rare, I don't mean uncommon. We all have them. I mean, these moments in our lives are few.
But there's always this like sinking, fraudulent feeling just right here all the time because I didn't grow up speaking the language of my culture. So my parents spoke to each other in our native language, which is Gujarati, but they only spoke to English to me and my sister. So there was always this language limb that was like severed from us at a very early age. And I really resented them for that until very recently when I kind of realized, oh, this was just like a defense mechanism, you know? If I thought I was dealing with some ignorance as a child, there's no doubt in my mind that they were dealing with like much older racist adults all the time. So in our house, you know, it was like American stuff, English, eating meat. My parents never grew up eating meat, but like my sister still eats meat. She's 7 years older than me, and she was like, I'm just gonna like, this is not a thing that's gonna happen. Like, I like meat, and I'm gonna continue to eat meat. When they decided that we weren't going to. But anyway, our record collection was like Lionel Richie and Prince and Fraggle Rock and Yentl and Marlo Thomas and all the stuff that really represents who I was but doesn't really fit together. So I'm in Chicago and I'm surrounded by like all these people who can like curse in a different language and speak to grandmothers, you know, and like just speak fluently with each other, like tell jokes like it's no big deal. And I just feel like I'm making baby steps. Like everywhere I go, like any social situation I'm in, I feel like I'm like sweating, you know, because I know that like some perfectly well-meaning auntie's gonna come up to me and like ask me how I'm doing or like, you know, how I feel about whatever, and I'm just gonna like, I'm gonna screw it up. I'm gonna screw it up and I'm gonna say the wrong thing and I'm gonna use like the wrong gender, or I'm gonna like refer to myself as a male, or I don't know, just like something bad's gonna happen and there's gonna be judgment and they're just gonna like, they're gonna know this thing that I'm always trying really hard to hide, you know, and like I'm alone here and I don't have my parents to hide behind anymore. And like, and language is such a tricky thing. So like in my language, the word for business class, like entrepreneur, is like a half a vowel away from the word for prostitute. So like, who do you want to be having a conversation with when you make that mistake? I remember once when I was in college, I went to go visit one of my friends who was married, and she was staying with her in-laws for a little bit, and she went to go do something, and then I was kind of like left with her father-in-law, and we were like watching the old matriarch of the family, like this really kind old woman like playing with like the toddler or the baby who like knew more Gujarati than I did, you know, and they were like talking to each other, they were like playing with each other.
Or creating a book inside of my head where I would like organize faces and try to know every name that I could ever like memorize by heart. And that was unfortunately impossible. But I hate telling people that I have a photographic memory, because telling people that makes you sound like you think you're some kind of X-Men, to which unfortunately I'm not. But growing up, I had to learn not to talk like this for fear of people calling me a freak or whatever, you know, or being self-righteous. In a college history class a couple of years ago, we watched an old-timey like kind of film, and the teacher, she gave us a quiz, and we have to review it like in a class discussion. So the teacher was like, what were they playing in the party scene? And and no one had the guts or like cared enough to, you know, to answer. So I said in defiance, I was like, they were playing pool. And she was like, okay. And then I continued and I said it was a billiard ball, a ball, and the pool table, that was on the table, and the ball was orange and it had the number 13 on it. And nobody said anything because that was really fucking weird because it was in black and white. And everybody looked at me like I was crazy. The film's in black and white, the teacher said to me. The ball, and then I was like, the ball is orange and it had the number 13 on it. Don't ask me how I know that, I just do. She also still thought I was crazy. A guy in that class looked at me like some kind of attention whore, and I left class without saying another word. See, the terrible thing about being different is that no one wants to take you seriously, and they want to fetishize you or talk about you like you're asking for attention, or you know, talk to you to your face and not treat you like a human being. They want to look at you like a spectacle, and that's what they take you for. And because I'm an actor, they call it justifiable, but I like performing, so it's like, what do you do there, you know? But when I perform, it's because I love it. I use it as therapy. I've learned that being visually oriented is just like, it's who I am, it's what I do. And hiding isn't really an option because I think that's just stupid. My mother told me I had something wrong with me when I was like growing up. That she took me to get tested for ADD, like my whole childhood, and I couldn't get diagnosed because I don't have ADD. I just so I've always had to tell my teachers that I have ADD though, because it's just easier to understand, or I would say like a kind of OCD or whatever. Because you know, I didn't want to sound like a liar, which sounds kind of ironic. I think that's really funny. I test differently. I rarely study before I take tests because I remember way more from lectures and PowerPoints than I went on. But again, I'm not an X-Men, unfortunately. And the only people I've ever told this to are my grandma and my best friends. I posted this on my Finsta account, which is like a fake Instagram, you don't know. And I just said that I passed a couple of tests for it online, which is pretty simple.
I hate being afraid of airports. I hate being afraid of policemen. Some nights I can't go to sleep because my anxiety convinces me that there's an ICE agent a few seconds away from knocking on my door to detain my parents. I've had to put my life on hold, and I feel trapped, from dropping out of school because of no money to turning down study abroad scholarships. I feel trapped in these borders, but I think the reason that I resent borders the most is because all of the family members I have lost. Because dreams can be refreshed. You always find a new purpose for life. New countries to explore will always be there in some capacity. But relationships with people are time sensitive. The moment matters. I realized this when family members started dying and I was an ocean away. I didn't cry when I was a kid because I didn't know them. But I find myself spontaneously crying these days because my heart is heavy. People who are a part of me are dying. Family is how we are connected to this world and find our history, and I am disconnected from them. So the first to go was my grandfather on my dad's side. He died in 2003. He, like me, liked whiskey, couldn't sit still, and was always starting businesses, and he clipped recipes from magazines and saved them. My mom still has the book. My dad, the eldest, and therefore the one who had to perform burial rites, could not go. He was stuck here with his visa still in process. The most recent one was my grandmother on my mom's side in 2011. She was a delivery nurse who was a single parent for some time when her husband decided to immigrate from India to Nairobi, Kenya. She would look after people's kids and she would pray for the safety of her own. She would bring my mom and my mom's siblings sweets, and when they were asleep, she'd come late at night and she'd put the sweets in their mouth and wake them up that way. She was the one who twisted an umbilical cord off my sister's neck when she was being born, giving her her first breath. These deaths are always announced by a phone call, always early in the morning or late at night to make up for the time difference. And it's always met with grief from my family that is paralyzed by default. It's in the back room. There's always just shared tears from Nairobi or India, and they find home in Chicago. Both times my grandparents passed away, I said the handful of words that I know in my mother tongue, which is also Gujarati, to offer comfort. I don't speak it fluently, but where language was my barrier, my physical presence could have at least broken down that, and I could have comforted them. My grandparents were hard. When Jackie mentioned that, grandparents help us tell stories of our parents, I wondered, what do I not know about my parents that they could have told me? But I think the worst was the death of my cousin Nakunj. He was 23 years old and he died in Nairobi because of a drunk driver. It was a Saturday, 2008. My mom and I were on a walk to the Target on Peterson by the Rose Hill Cemetery. It was dusk and she was talking about her dad like she always does when we pass cemeteries. She was 19 years old when he died, and I only know him as this gentle mound in the earth and a marble stone he would visit on Sundays after church in Nairobi. But I've heard stories. He was a mathematician and a physicist who once stopped traffic so that he could write out an equation stuck in his mind on the tarmac road. He was a farmer. Some stories are tangled up in legend. He was a farmer who, during this drought in India, he prayed for rain, and one cloud apparently appeared over his field. He kept a garden of roses. I have his copies of A Midsummer Night's Dream and Romeo and Juliet, and I searched the margins for notes, wondering if they're his. And he had a cat who would sit by him as he graded math papers. My mom never understood algebra, but I wondered why she was so adamant and demanded that I had to learn algebra, and I realized because she wanted to forge this bond between me and my grandpa.
She always keep up with these stories about how she actually was able to cross the border on one of those trains that were able and not get caught and made it all the way to Los Angeles, and somehow there was I can't describe it, but in Spanish called coyote, the coyote, someone who's able to smuggle undocumented people through the border. And it's where she says that coyote was able to pay for a trip from Los Angeles to Chicago, where she settled, and much of my family actually lives here. And she always liked to say that she was actually going to the middle of winter, and actually it was where she was actually the only Latina woman on a flight, where everybody else was actually, I guess, older white people. And supposedly it's also remarkable how she actually says that everybody was wearing jackets and outerwear, and she was the only one who wears in summer clothing. So yeah, and I guess she was really not much knowledgeable about the culture back then, but now both my parents and actually all of my family are knowledgeable about culture. But then for this thing, it's where I personally say.
And they gave us a badge that we had. So all the workers had a badge, and I was the only, when I go to these Catholic functions, I'm always the only black person there. They gave me a badge, just like everyone else. And what we did was we helped persons who were in the neighborhood with a cart. And we would get them, we'd go to these stations, if you will, that were lined up in the area by the church. And we would give them, I would have the cart, push the cart for the older woman or man, and then we'd go to the station and we'd see what they want to eat. So I would go to the stations with my badge, big red badge right here, and instead of, they would ask me, the white, what do you want, sir, to eat?
The uneaten food items, fully charged cell phone. I'm on the floor with half an eye on the movie Purple Rain. The music is infectious. Okay, a little nostalgic as well. And I want to dance, but I let my fingers do the choreography because the legs are non-compliant. And when I get distracted and my toes start to tap, pain shoots through me. By early afternoon, the folly of my hunger strike is evident. I have to go to the bathroom, notwithstanding my lack of sustenance. I have to go to the bathroom by the same means I employed when I was a toddler. I have to crawl. Walking is simply impossible. Crawling is just exceedingly difficult. And if I get there, I'll see if I can ease myself into a vertical position, which will allow me to urinate with a reasonable amount of accuracy. My fear is having greater needs than that. Now, coordinating arms and legs is stressful and painful, and I make a number of stops to allow the spasms to ease, but I complete the trek. I'm able to get across. We have a stool in our bathroom, and I manage to get my arms over it. Hoist myself, up, rest my chest upon the seat with my knees on the floor. I have no idea how I'm going to get up from here. This raising my arms hurts like the proverbial motherfucker. I stay in this position, laying over the stool for a while. Because between the pain, the hunger, and the energy it took to get me into this ridiculous position, I'm in a fog, and I have really no idea how long I've been here. I slither back to the floor, fighting back tears generated by both the pain and pride for my retreat. I decide to make a frontal assault on the throne. And after an epic battle, I'm deeply wounded, in great pain, I'm not going to attempt to get to the sink to wash my hands. My t-shirt, already earthy from the efforts expended thus far, will have to do.